Join me as I dive into the mysterious story of Naomi, Ruth's mother-in-law, and uncover what really happened to her. Naomi is a figure often overlooked in the Book of Ruth, but her story is one of heartbreak, loss, and ultimately, hope. As Ruth's mother-in-law, Naomi's life is deeply intertwined with that of her daughter-in-law, and her journey is one that shapes the entire narrative. After losing her husband, Elimelech, Naomi was left to care for their two sons, Machlon and Kilian. But tragedy struck again when both sons died, leaving Naomi alone and childless in a foreign land. Can you imagine the devastating sense of loss and isolation she must have felt? The scriptures tell us that Naomi was left with a deep sadness, and it's hard not to feel empathy for her situation. The emptiness she felt was not just the absence of her loved ones, but also the loss of her sense of purpose and identity. In a patriarchal society, a woman's value was often tied to her relationship with her husband and sons, so Naomi's losses were not just personal, but also carried significant social implications. Her world was turned upside down, and she was left to pick up the pieces and figure out how to move forward. It's hard not to wonder how Naomi must have felt like her whole world was crumbling around her. She had left her homeland, her family, and her friends to start a new life with her husband in Moab, and now she was left with nothing. It's a feeling of desperation, of being completely lost and alone. The scriptures don't give us a lot of detail about Naomi's emotional state during this time, but we can imagine the feelings of despair and hopelessness that she must have felt. She had lost everything that mattered to her, and was left to face an uncertain future alone. It's a painful and lonely place to be, and one that many of us can relate to in some way. Naomi's decision to return to Bethlehem, her hometown, was not an easy one. It meant leaving behind the only life she had known for the past decade, and facing the uncertainty of starting anew. But it also meant returning to a community that knew her, and where she had a support system in place. It was a chance to rebuild, to start again, and to find a new sense of purpose. Naomi's decision to return to Bethlehem also says a lot about her relationship with Ruth, who chose to accompany her on the journey. It's a testament to the strong bond that had formed between the two women, and highlights the deep love and loyalty that they shared. Ruth's decision to stay with Naomi was not just a practical one, but also an emotional one. She had grown to love Naomi like a mother, and was determined to care for her and support her in her time of need. It's a beautiful picture of what it means to be family, and to care for one another in the midst of difficult circumstances. As they made their way back to Bethlehem, Naomi and Ruth must have had many conversations about their hopes and fears for the future. They were two women, from different backgrounds and cultures, but united in their grief and their determination to start anew. As they settled back into life in Bethlehem, Naomi and Ruth must have faced many challenges. They were two women, alone in the world, with no men to provide for them. They had to work hard to make ends meet, and to find a way to survive in a society that was often hostile to women. But they also had each other, and that made all the difference. Naomi had found a new sense of purpose in caring for Ruth, and Ruth had found a new family in Naomi. Together, they faced the unknown, and found a way to thrive in the midst of adversity. Then came the moment that changed everything. Ruth pledged her loyalty to Naomi, promising to stay with her, to care for her, and to support her, no matter what. It's a beautiful moment, one that highlights the strength of their bond, and the depth of their love for one another. It's a reminder that family is not just about blood ties, but about the relationships we form with one another, and the love and loyalty that we show to each other. As we reflect on Naomi's story, we see a transformation from loss to hope. We see a woman who was broken, who was lost, and who was desperate, but who found a way to rise above her circumstances. We see a woman who found a new sense of purpose, a new family, and a new way to live. Naomi's story is one of redemption, of loyalty, and of the power of human relationships to shape our lives. So what did you think of Naomi's story? Did it resonate with you, or did it make you think about your own relationships? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're interested in exploring more about the significance of loyalty in the Bible, check out my next video, where I'll be diving deeper into this important theme.